Good morning, welcome to White Springs Fishery. Today we're just going to run you through some running rigs, obviously focusing on the resistance side of things and how to minimise that and how to go about catching some of these lovely fish. Most commercials, whether they be local or a bit of a drive from you, will have potential to hold fish like this, and we're just going to go through some rigs, all simple stuff, and just show you how to minimise resistance and make catching these a little bit easier. Let's get it back. So now we've got the rod in, just show you what we're using today. Again, simple, it doesn't have to be complicated. So you just got one of our buffer beads into a swivel, one of our running rings, and a 45-gram gripper. The reason for having such a heavy lead is so the line passes through the ring without the resistance or without the lead moving. So rather than the big fish take the bait up and move the whole rig, the lead stays in position because it's nice and heavy, and the buffer bead passes through the running ring. Obviously, if you point your rod tips towards where you're casting, that's also going to help you minimise the resistance, and also having a nice long drop off your bobbin is going to help you, and ensuring that you're using a light enough bobbin that you can actually get away with, and that's going to help you then minimise the resistance and have more positive takes. You can use a multitude of baits for this. You can use prawn, lobworm, dead baits if the venue permits that, and maggots also. But yeah, it's a nice versatile rig, and more importantly, it's really simple. And that's why you need to be concentrating on is the location rather than using overcomplicated rigs. Just using a bit of watercraft and fishing to features. Spraying maggot over the top can also help, obviously by pulling the silvers into your area, which then in turn attracts the perch. But again, with most of my fishing, I always err on the side of simpleness because it doesn't have to be complicated. It leaves you a bit more time then to concentrate on watercraft and locating those perch. Right, so the reason that we're using a relatively heavy rig, considering we're fishing quite light, is to make sure that when that fish picks up that hook bait, it actually doesn't dislodge the lead and it just carries the main line through the running ring without any resistance. When you do actually get a bite, what you're going to see, you can notice with my bobbin, I've got it on the longest drop I can possibly have it on. A semi-slack line to the hook bait or to the lead, and all I'm looking for is little lifts in this bobbin. And again, like I said earlier on, these types of bobbins are super duper light. So again, when it picks our rig up, it's not going to feel any resistance. That bobbin will just lift and drop slowly. And that's what you're waiting for, is a little lift. And as soon as you see that bobbin go, get to the rod, lift, take the slack out and lift into it. I don't like to give them too much line, if I'm honest, because obviously perch, they can get deep hooked. They are greedy at times. And I find by picking the rod up and striking at any indication, I'm not deep hooking any perch, which is the important thing as well. But yeah, again, it's simple stuff. But there is a reason why we're doing what we're doing. It's not just for no reason. There is a method behind it. And like I explained to you, with the running rings and a slightly heavier lead, it's just helping minimise the resistance. Obviously, once you've cast your bait out, if you cast your bait out in line with your rod tip or slightly offset, so keep it a relatively straight line from your rod to your bait, that'll help you as well. So when you're hooking your prawns, it's important to make sure that you've got plenty of hook points showing. So I normally just nick them once right up through the saddle on the back. And again, just making sure there's plenty of hook points showing, just so when the perch takes the bait, you got more chance of it finding the hook point straight away. The other importance, so obviously having plenty of hook point exposed, is you're likely to get better hook holds and not pull so many hooks from fish. As we all know, perch can be a nightmare when on the surface and they're thrashing about, so the last thing you want is a rubbish hook hold. So by having the hook point exposed as such as it is, it gives you a better hook hold and a more percentage chance of actually catching what you're targeting. But it's small and simple things that quite often make the difference, and that's just a little tip there just to help you hopefully land more perch. So we just had a move, literally first drop into this little bush now, and yeah, he's gone round straight away. Didn't even have time to put the bobbin on. Only a little sample, but appreciated on a difficult day. Perfection in miniature. Again, we can only use the tactics that work for the specific species. We can't dictate how big they're going to be, and yeah, happy to see something with stripes rather than the eels that we've been plagued by. But yeah, fantastic. Right, so we just changed lakes. We were having a bit of a slow morning over on the pit. Had a bit of joy at first light, but since the old sun's come out, I say the sun's come out since it's got a bit brighter, yeah, it's slowed right down. So we moved over here, first drop in with a fresh rig underneath this bush to my left hand side, resulted in a small perch. So we just thought we'd take this opportunity now to just talk you through some of the tackle I'm using. I've got a 3000 size reel, coupled up with one of our all-rounder rods, 10 foot and 1.1 pound test curve. More importantly, it's got a lovely forgiving tip. And this helps you obviously with the perch shaking his head on the surface and trying to shed the hooks. You need something with a bit of cushion in the tip to help you in that respect, to stop pulling hooks when the perch is up on the surface flapping about, which they quite regularly do. As anyone who fishes for perch will tell you, those little head shakes and the thrashing on the surface, that's the most worrying part about perch fishing. Obviously you do lose a few fish on the surface, but having a rod such as this, which has got a nice through action and a lovely cushion tip, it does help you with that problem. So yeah, again though, it's heavy enough to do the job and to deal with any nuisance carp that we might encounter, but it's light enough, more importantly, to let you enjoy that fight. If you've got no experience with these rods and you haven't seen them, pop in the local tackle shop and have a look. They got a lovely nice through action, lovely soft cushion tip, which is important for the head shaking of the perch. It's got to be a carp because the perch is massive. Gotta be a carp. I hope it is not, but I think it is. It looks like a Barney Rubble on the perch gear. We've taken the time to show you through how to minimize the resistance when using the running rigs. So we just thought it'd take a minute to show you this hook and the pattern that we're using. We're using a grappler, which has got a lovely wide gape, as you can see. That's just to help house the slightly bigger hook baits that you're using for perch, whether it be prawns or lobworms, and just enables you to keep plenty of the hook exposed for good penetration when you're striking into fish. And with regards to hook length material, we're just using some of our Smoke Shield mono in 6 pound, which again is strong enough to help you with any nuisance carp you might encounter, but is light enough to offer you a good presentation. It doesn't have to be complicated. I've literally just knotted that hook on, even though it's eyed, just to give you a little bit of a better presentation, and a loop to the other end, and then basically loop that to your swivel. Pop the hook back through the loop and tighten it down onto your swivel, and that's it done. Really easy but effective. One of the best tips I can offer you is purely the location of perch. You can find them in a multitude of different areas, next to aerators, next to islands, if you've got drop-offs, marginal shelves. The peg I'm fishing today it's got a nice overhanging tree, and you've got an inlet of water. But you combine those two things and it makes a really big feature, especially on this lake. So yeah, they're just some of the things to look out for. Again, aerators offer a bit of shade, so if our sun does come out, you know, perch don't like the sun, they'll try and get out of it and sit in the shadows and sit there ready to ambush something. But again, all your likely areas, marginal shelves, islands, inlets, overhanging bushes, or any form of structure will offer a bit of security and somewhere for the perch to hide, and they're the type of places you want to be looking for them. That concludes the session. It hasn't been prolific, but we managed a few fish for the camera. I hope you picked up a few helpful hints and tips along the way. I have got some footage that I'll pass over to Ty and he'll share with you with previous captures, just to highlight that the rigs that we're using today are effective